For 4 years, yesterday the central bank announced that the Irish house prices are undervalued by anything from 12 to 26%. We'll hear what their view on the announcement are Carl Dieter from Irish Mortgage Brokers and Angela Keegan from myhome.ie. Thanks for coming along, guys. Undervalued. Surely a value of something is dictated by what you're willing to pay. Is this not the case, Angela?
Well, what the central bank came out with the report yesterday, and they ran 4 models on house prices at the end of 2011, and all of the 4 models are saying that house prices are undervalued. Anywhere between 12% was the lowest, 26% being the highest. I think what's interesting, they have come out saying the reasons for the undervaluation in the main are lack of investor confidence in the market, something we've been talking about for quite a while. Also, the fact that the mortgage credit just hasn't been available, and there is certainly a deleveraging to happen within the banks. Also, another reason would be the economic situation. So, but I do genuinely believe if investor confidence comes back and if we can see the reasons why property prices are undervalued, as the central bank are saying, if we can see those addressed and corrected, we will see a stabilisation of prices into the future.
But could we not also see suddenly an upsurge? Because, like, with people saying, well, if they're undervalued, what should they be valued at? And all of a sudden these property prices suddenly jump.
Yeah, now you're onto one of my pet projects and my great loves in life, which is property cycles. I think that what's probably happening is that we're turning European rather than turning Japanese. Japan is one of the few places where property prices dropped and they just kept on going. Other than that, if you look at what happened in the UK, Sweden and Finland, property prices go through a strong correction. Eventually they hit some kind of bottom, they trundle along the bottom for a few years and then they surge.
But the normal cycle of that is how long?
The entire cycle generally lasts about 20 years, and you normally have a mid-cycle quick peak and trough, which in Ireland would have occurred right after September 11th, that happens as well. But suffice to say, I would say that we'll be doing the exercise we did in 2007 again sometime in the mid-2020s. But the good news is for people out there at the moment is that if you were to buy now, for instance, you could expect to see prices rising, that if you're in negative equity, that you probably could expect to start to see prices rising, and that's further backed up by information that the Central Statistics Office published last week, which indicated that house prices in Dublin City, for instance, are actually starting to rise, and in the rest of the country they're not dropping anymore.
So could these central bank statistics actually be giving an indicator of the way things may go?
I would think you're perfectly correct, Claire. I think it's really good that it's the central bank have come out with this report, and I think the very fact that the central bank have done it adds credibility rather than if it was a property type organisation or an estate agent group or whatever. And I think, again, as I said earlier, the central bank are clearly saying why properties have been undervalued, and I think if we address those issues, we will see where prices will go.
How are they undervaluing? What sort of model are they using to gauge that undervaluing?
They're using 4 separate economic models which have been, tried and tested throughout the economic boom and bust that we've seen over the last while. And it's my understanding, Carl may have more information, but the data that they're using goes back from 1980. So they're using data from 1980 to the end of 2011. So they're proven methods. They've used 4 different types of proven methods.
Based on the economy that we're in now, that these are the prices that you should be paying for a new home?
Well, based on the economic macros that are at work, that this is what homes are worth at the moment.
Without making it too complex, there's the market clearing price, which is the price that people pay for something, and that's where the transaction occurs. But there are other valuations that will imply a value on something, which, for instance, you have in stocks where people look for undervalued companies. Well, the same can happen in property, that it would have an implied valuation using different models, and that at present we seem to be below what those models are telling us.
Whose fault is it that they're undervalued? Is this sort of estate agents going, well, you should really go in at this price to try and sell? Should they be going in at a higher price if you were looking to sell a home?
I think it goes back to that confidence, and I think property prices have been going down for the last 5 years, and we're expecting that property prices, the general public expect that property prices are going to still go down, and I think that's what's added to it. And if you look back during the peak, property prices were going up. Did we ever think anything else was going to happen other than they were to continue to go up? So I think as we begin to see some of the issues dealt with, you will see a level of confidence come back. I think we'll go through a period of stabilisation, and Carl is right, the CSO figures last week, albeit the data can be quite volatile, as the CSO data is extracted from the actual mortgage transactions and doesn't take cash transactions into consideration. But it is a positive sign, and it's a sign to be welcomed.
But did we not see what looked like a levelling off in 2010, and then all of a sudden down they fell again?
I think, like we had the CSO figures last week, it's 1 month. I think we have to watch the trend over the next couple of months. What the central bank are saying is that property prices are undervalued anywhere between 12 and 26%. They're not saying they're going to come back very speedily or very quickly. They're saying there are a number of reasons why they're undervalued, and it's essential that those reasons are addressed before we see stabilisation and property prices move ahead.
Just to talk about myhome.ie for a second.
Yes.
For anybody who is interested or in a position to probably move house or purchase their first home, you've actually got a facility now on the website that allows them to follow the price, a price tracker.
Yes, we introduced a few days ago a price tracker on My Home. It's interesting, we get a lot of feedback on the site, and it was the #1 requested feature from potential buyers. So a potential buyer will now be able to track the price of a home on the individual home, to be able to track those price changes and also measure those changes against other price movements within the area. Proven hugely popular, also good for sellers, because every time then price is reduced or increased, the property is remarketed to those that have declared an interest in it.
Could something like that prevent what the central bank have just told us about happening again?
I don't think it will prevent it. I think there's no substitute for the sold price register, which we're expecting the government to introduce later in the year, but it certainly will add a level of transparency to asking prices, which we haven't seen before.
Carl, you've a couple of books there that are worth mentioning this week.
Yeah, I threw my 2 cents worth into 2 separate books in 2012. The first one was called What If Ireland Defaults, which is put together by Brian Lucy, Constantine Gurdjieff and Charles Larkin and Trinity. And I think that's actually in the top 10 bestseller now.
Very good.
Not
the other one?
for chapter 13, which was my bit on mortgages.
Well,
and the other
one that's
skipping ahead.
Yeah, I think they disliked me. That's why they gave me chapter 13. But the other one was The Irish Property Buyer by Carl Tallon, which has gone through another new edition in 2012. And I did the chapter on mortgages on that one too. So what I've learned is if you just stick to doing chapters, you can do lots of books. So hopefully they'll all do well.
Carl, Angela, good to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Will the property market be affected by the outcome of the European Fiscal Treaty referendum? Well, you can make up your own mind tonight. The Europe debate with Vincent Brown is live tonight at 9 on TV3.
And that's us for today. The Midday Girls are up next. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 11. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.